So hello students, a very good afternoon to all. So welcome to daily newspaper analysis of 2nd of May. So these are the 5 important topics for today. So all these 5 articles I have taken from the Hindu. So first important article is related to rise in the prices of commercial LPG as well as other fuel products. So here we shall be discussing what are the reasons behind it and what will be the future impact on India. Next article is the work in progress. So this was the part of editorial. So this article basically discusses about the status of public health situation in India. And specifically this article discusses about one special scheme, that is Jan Arogya Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana. Next article is related to the boat capsize in Jabalpur. So it was a very unfortunate incident in one district in Madhya Pradesh. So this article is very important from disaster management point of view, that what actually happened and what could have been done to save the lives of people in Jabalpur. Next, we have article about the energy security in India, and after that we have the article about INS Mahendragiri. So under this article, project 17A is very important. Okay, so without any delay, let's start our discussion. Okay, so here first article is related to the commercial LPG and 5 kg cylinders to cost more. So recently what government has done, uh, not government, if I talk about all the marketing companies, so all the oil marketing companies have increased the prices of commercial LPG by rupees 993 and prices of 5 kg free trade LPG cylinders by rupees 261. So see, you must have an idea about what is the difference between commercial LPG as well as domestic LPG cylinders. So commercial LPGs are basically used in the businesses like the restaurants or eateries, etc., etc. And if I talk about the 5 kg free trade LPG, so it is a very small cylinder which is generally used by the migrant workers or the students. So this type of 5 kg LPG cylinder does not require any address proof. So basically you just have to show your ID card and you can easily get. So basically the price of all these two type of LPG cylinders have been increased. Now next, there has been increase in the price of bulk diesel also. So what is bulk diesel? Diesel which is used in the commercial vehicles like the trucks or tractors. So basically this diesel is not for the retail purpose. This type of diesel is used in the commercial vehicles. And now next, prices of aviation turbine fuel, which is a fuel in flights, which is a fuel in airplanes. So price of aviation turbine fuel has also been increased. So basically here we have talked about 3 important products. First is about the LPG. So price of commercial LPG as well as 5 kg free trade LPG has been increased. Next, there has been increase in the price of bulk diesel, and finally there has been price in the price of aviation turbine fuel. Important thing for you to note here is that the price of domestic LPG are remain unchanged. So the LPG cylinders which we are using at our home, the domestic LPG cylinders, their prices are remained unchanged. What is the reason behind it? Because if we talk about the commercial LPG, so price of commercial LPG is market linked. So whatever is happening in the international market, the direct impact will be on commercial LPG. So the prices of domestic LPG can be influenced by the political or social factors, but the price of commercial LPG will be impacted by the market conditions. So simply you can say that commercial LPG prices are market linked. So there is no impact of the domestic policies like political or social. So this was the first important thing. That what government can do, government can regulate the prices of domestic LPG cylinders. Hence, there will not be much impact on the prices of domestic LPG, but prices of commercial LPG has increased. And similar is the case with the bulk diesel as well as aviation turbine fuel, because all these things are market linked. Now, please focus on the next important thing. Next thing what government has done, that government has reduced special additional excise duty on diesel as well as aviation turbine fuel exports. So what is the purpose of this excise duty, this special additional excise duty? See, this excise duty government has imposed on exports. So for example, this is company A, for example, this is oil refinery A, and this oil refinery is exporting oil to foreign countries, to other countries. So this excise duty is used to regulate the supply of oil from India. Because for example, if there is supply crunch in India, then India will tell the oil refineries that don't supply your oil to other countries, you must supply your oil for the domestic needs only. So in that way, what government will do? Government will increase the excise duty, because if excise duty is increased, so it will be more beneficial, so it will be more advantageous to bring the oil in the domestic market instead of exporting that oil. But at present, government has reduced this excise duty so that oil refineries can easily export the oil. Now I'm coming to the point, because this will be creating a confusion in your mind. See, first thing what happened, first I am talking about the price rise. So recently, price rise happened for LPG cylinders for the commercial as well as 5 kg. Price rise happened for diesel, right? And then price rise happened for aviation turbine fuel. Second thing what we discussed, the government has increased the excise duty. Government has reduced the excise duty on diesel as well as aviation turbine fuel. So the reduction in excise, the meaning of reduction in excise duty is that now oil companies can easily export the diesel and aviation turbine fuel from India. Now, please understand this situation. As we know that price rise is happening mainly because of the supply crunch, right? And if there is supply crunch, then why government is reducing the excise duty? Because if excise duty is reduced, then oil companies can easily export the oil, right? So this can create a confusion in your mind. So now let me explain this. See, there can be various reasons for rise in price. So first important reason, what you already know, is the supply crunch. Because if how price of anything rise, if there is more demand and there is less supply, then it can lead to price rise. But it is not the only reason, because the reason for oil price can also be the speculation, that people are speculating that in future the price might rise. So now people are purchasing all the commodities so that there is the supply crunch and hence price can rise. I think you can understand in this way. Like recently, few weeks back, this was the news in various newspapers that because of West Asia crisis, people might face the crunch of petrol or diesel. So especially if I talk of particular city in Hyderabad, it was seen that no petrol pumps was having a huge line. So people were speculating that in the upcoming weeks you might face the crunch of petrol or diesel. So supply crunch is not the only reason for rise in price. Even the speculation can lead to price rise. So now understand the situation very clearly. I am giving you a situation. For example, you are a vegetable vendor, and especially I am talking of a particular vegetable. I am talking of tomatoes. Okay, so for example, you are main dealer in tomatoes. Now I am giving you a situation that, consider a situation where the price of tomatoes in the market rise. Because of any situation, the price of the tomatoes rise. Now, even if you have a lot of stock of tomatoes, because for you there is no supply crunch, you have enough stock of tomatoes so that you can survive. Even if you have enough supply, then also, since the price in the market have already been increased, so what you will do, you will also increase the price. So you are not increasing the price because there is supply crunch for you. You are increasing the price because price in the market have increased. So this is what happening in India. In India, what is happening? So India has the enough stock of all these fossil fuels, crude oil, natural gas. So India at present have enough stock of all these things to support the domestic needs. So it is similar to the tomatoes, that India has enough supply of all the energy products, but since the oil prices in the international market has increased, so India has also increased the prices in its domestic market. So because, see, for example, these are the oil companies, and I am saying that India has enough supply of oil at present. So see, if India has enough supply of oil at present and oil marketing companies are continuously refining the oil, so where this surplus oil will go? That's why government has reduced the excise duty so that government promote the exporting of diesel as well as ATF to other countries. Because here government has to balance the domestic supply also, and government has to balance the export policy also, right? Because government cannot say that in future there might be crunch of petrol or diesel, so government will say to oil marketing companies that don't export. It's not like that, right? Because these oil marketing companies will be at loss. So that's why, as we know, that there is price rise, but this price rise is not because of the crunch. This price rise is not because of the less supply. This price rise is because of the rise of the prices in the international market. So at present situation is India has the enough stock of all these things, but then also price is rising because the price in the international markets are rising. And why government has reduced the excise duty? Because government also wants to support the export policy of India. Okay, so I think we discussed till here that why the oil prices are rising and why government is increasing the additional excise duty on diesel as well as ATF exports. Now, next important thing here is higher commercial LPG prices are expected to create cost push inflation. This is very important concept because the businesses will pass the increased fuel cost to the consumers and it will affect the food prices as well as small enterprises. So for this, quickly let's understand the basic concept of inflation, about the type of inflation. So if I talk about the type of inflation, so basically there are two types. First is the demand pull inflation and second is the cost push inflation. So what is demand pull inflation? Demand pull inflation is related to the consumer side. Okay, so when demand pull inflation can happen, it can happen when a particular person has a lot of money, when the purchasing power is very high, or the government is following the expansionary fiscal policy. So then only demand pull inflation can happen. If I talk about the cost push inflation, so it is related to the supply side. So how cost push inflation can happen? If the price of raw material increases, if the labor cost increases, so because of all these things, cost push inflation can increase. So that's what the article is saying, that since the LPG prices will be high, and if commercial LPG prices are high, that means these commercial LPG cylinders are used in the restaurants. So if commercial LPG prices will be high, then the price of your any food product, if you are talking about any fast food or anything, so price of the food products will also increase, and this will be transferred from businesses to consumers. So here rise in the prices of commercial LPG will be having a direct impact on the consumers. And why all these things are happening? These all things are happening because of the West Asia crisis. Because under West Asia crisis, many oil tankers are not being allowed to pass from the Strait of Hormuz. Or even if they are allowed to pass, so they are coming late. That's why maybe we can have supply crunch, or maybe there can be speculations that supply crunch can happen. Okay, so I think these were the important points which were given in the article. Now, quickly, let's discuss about the economic impacts, what it can have on India. So first of all, it can increase the operational cost for MSME as well as small food businesses, and higher prices may be passed to consumers. So just now I have discussed, see, for example, many students or many working professionals just depend on these small food businesses for the tiffins, for the dinner, for the breakfast. So if the price of commercial LPG has been increased, so that price can be directly transferred to the consumers. And especially it will not be good for the people who are earning very low amount of money, or for the students. Second important thing will be this inflationary impact. So indirectly, even if you have a single fruit in your hand, for example, a single lemon or single mango, so even that particular fruit will be affected by the rise in the fuel prices. Because if you are having this particular fruit in your hand, so some vehicle might have transferred this fruit from one city to another, and that vehicle might have used the fuel. That's why each and everything will be affected by the rise in fuel prices. And next impact is the social impact, because as I have already discussed that there is rise in 5 kg LPG cylinders also. So migrant population will be severely affected by this thing. So these are the important impacts. So if I talk about the way forward, then what will be the first important solution? That you must diversify the energy sources. Because see, now why we are facing energy crunch? Because of the West Asia crisis, because of the blockage of Strait of Hormuz. So if we have our own fuel, if we have the energy diversification, then this condition might not have come. Next thing is you must strengthen the LPG affordability for the vulnerable groups. Like just now we discussed about the 5 kg cylinder. So government must mainly focus on the vulnerable groups in these type of crisis situations. Next is you must reduce the crude oil dependence. So similar thing, how you can reduce the crude oil dependence? You must focus on the energy diversification. So you must focus on the solar energy, or you must focus on the hydropower, so that you must not only depend on the crude oil or the coal for the conversion of energy. And finally, we have final solution is you must expand the strategic petroleum reserves, because International Energy Agency has already said that any country must have the reserves of 90 days, so that that country can shield itself from the all these type of crises like the West Asia crisis. Okay, so I think these were the important concepts for this article. Okay, now let's move towards the second article. So second article is about the work in progress. So mainly it focuses on the public health sector of India. So first of all, I will discuss briefly what the article is trying to say. Okay, so first of all, mainly the article is discussing about the Ayushman Bharat Yojana. Ayushman Bharat Yojana. Okay, so here article is saying that from the time when Ayushman Bharat Yojana was launched, so after the launching of this scheme, one important thing happened in India, and that thing was insurance coverage in India increased a lot. After the launch of this scheme, the insurance coverage of in India has been increased. But this increase in the coverage of insurance has not transferred or has not transformed into the good public health services. That means the article is saying that although the insurance coverage under Ayushman Bharat Yojana has increased a lot, but this coverage you cannot equate with good health services in India. So, for example, the insurance coverage has increased, but this cannot mean that number of beds availability has been increased, or this cannot mean that if I am suffering from a critical illness, then easily I can get the medical services. So this is the thing which article is discussing, that though coverage has increased, but still there are problems in public health system in India. Okay. So now why the article is saying this, that this increase in coverage has not been transformed into good public health services? The reason is that if we talk about the private hospitals, so various private hospitals have what we call as the hidden charges. Right? What are those hidden charges? The charges for any test or charges for medicines, etc., etc. So all the private hospitals have these hidden charges. Now, as you know that whenever the government provide insurance coverage to the citizens, so see, for example, this is a private hospital and a particular citizen has taken medical services from here, and if a person is covered under the government health insurance scheme, then what government will do? Government will reimburse that hospital for the health services provided. But issue with the government insurance coverage is this reimbursement which is provided by the government to the private hospitals is very, very less compared to the market prices. So that's why even after government reimburse all the things, even after that, people have to do a lot of out of pocket expenditure. Out of pocket expenditure, that means the money which people are giving directly from their pocket. So even after the people are covered under the health insurance scheme, even after that, people have to pay a lot because of high out of pocket expenditure. Okay. Okay, I think start from here. Okay. Now, if we talk about the, if we analyze about the out-of-pocket expenditure, so the recent report says that we can say that out-of-pocket expenditure in India has reduced a lot for the normal services. So it has reduced a lot for the normal services. But if I talk about the chronic diseases, if I talk about the chronic diseases like the TB, malaria, or cancer, so out-of-pocket expenditure for all these things are still very, very high. So what is the status of out-of-pocket expenditure in India for normal services? This expenditure has reduced a lot, but still it is very high for the chronic diseases. And next, the article discusses about the changing diseases and about the changing nature of diseases. So what the article says, that there has been increase in awareness among the people related to disease. So more and more people are going to the hospitals and more people are reporting the illness. But a major factor related to nature of the diseases is that earlier major diseases were the communicable diseases. Communicable diseases like the TB, malaria, these were the communicable diseases, and earlier major diseases used to be communicable. But now the nature of disease has been changing, and now more and more diseases are becoming non-communicable. Non-communicable, the lifestyle diseases, for example diabetes, or for example cancer. So this is the changing nature of diseases which the article is discussing. Still it's working, right? Okay. Okay, so here what is the basic gist of the article? The article is saying that this scheme, Ayushman Bharat Yojana of the government, this scheme is very good for the general services in India. Because why it is good? Because of this scheme only, health insurance has been increased and out-of-pocket expenditure has been reduced a lot because of this scheme only. But if we are talking about the specialized services, especially if you want tertiary healthcare, then those type of healthcare services are not very good in the public hospitals. So article is saying that all these kind of services must be improved in the public hospitals, so that general public or the vulnerable sections or the poor sections of the society do not have to depend on the private hospitals or do not have to spend a lot under out of pocket expenditure. So what are the solutions? So first and foremost solution will be, you have to strengthen your public hospital infrastructure. You have to strengthen the quality under the public hospitals. Next is, as we discussed, that reimbursement rates which are provided by the central government or state government are very, very low. So you must improve the reimbursement rates, because if you improve the reimbursement rates, if you increase it, then ultimately, automatically out of pocket expenditure will reduce. Next, you should regulate the private hospital pricing, because in private hospitals there is no regulation. So that's why people have to spend a lot. And next, you have to expand the chronic care funding. That means you have to expand your tertiary healthcare services. So in this way, you can strengthen your public healthcare ecosystem in India. Okay, so since we were discussing about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, so let's briefly discuss about this scheme. So basically, this scheme provides a cashless cover of 5 lakh per family per year. Okay, so this thing you have to remember. What is the amount provided? So it's 5 lakh per family per year. Next thing is, the beneficiaries receive a treatment at empaneled hospitals without upfront payment. That means you don't have to make payment prior, and the beneficiaries can receive treatment in all the empaneled hospitals. Empaneled hospitals means the hospitals which are authorized by the government, that you can take treatment among under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Now, what are the things which are covered under this scheme? So almost everything, like the diagnostics, medicine, room charges, physician fee, etc., etc. These things are covered. Very important thing here is that the coverage is applicable to the entire family. Entire family means there is no age restriction, no gender restriction, no family size restriction also. and all pre-existing illness are covered from day one. Because as you know, if you take any private insurance coverage, then generally insurance companies ask that whether there is any pre-existing illness or not. And for example, if you have any chronic pre-existing illness, for example cancer or for example diabetes, then your premium increases a lot. So that's why this is very advantageous under this scheme, that all pre-existing illness are covered from day one, and here you don't have to serve any notice period also. Then all these benefits can be availed at any empaneled hospital nationwide, that all over India you can avail all these kind of treatments. And finally, important thing is it includes post hospitalization as well as pre hospitalization. All kinds of treatment are available here. So these were the some of the prelims related points. Okay. So our next article is related to boat capsize in Jabalpur. So this was a very unfortunate incident which took place in Madhya Pradesh. So let's discuss about the complete issue, what all things happened here. Okay, so here what happened? A tourist boat, a tourist boat in Jabalpur, and basically it was in Bargi Dam. Bargi Dam is built on Narmada River. So in Jabalpur on Bargi Dam, what happened? A tourist boat capsized. That means a tourist boat turned over in water. And why it happened? So it happened because of the negligence of the crew members. So that's why the disaster preparedness is very, very important in India. And this incident, because of this incident, various persons died and various people went missing. So this raises a very serious question on the disaster preparedness in India. So let's discuss complete issue point by point. So as you know, that tourist boat capsized and it was in Bargi Dam. Now, the main question here is that this is not just a small boat accident. Overall, this raises a serious question on the governance failure or on the disaster preparedness in India. Because consider a situation. Oh, just a second. Yes. Okay. So consider a situation that, for example, you want to travel in a boat. Okay. So if you are thinking to travel in a boat, so what are the necessary things which you will be requiring? The first important thing which you will be requiring will be a life jacket. This will be the most important thing. After that, what is the important thing? All the staff in that boat must be trained. So you will be needing a trained staff. After that, you will be needing a very good knowledge of the weather, that what is the situation of weather in that area. So here you will be needing the weather conditions. And finally, you will be needing an emergency backup, right? These all are the important things if you want to travel in a boat, if you are if you are planning to travel in a boat. But in this situation, all these four things were very, very weak, because the survivors told that the life jackets were given at very, very late. Means before traveling only people must have been given the life jackets, but the survivors told that the crew members gave the life jacket very late. Second thing is, the crew members were not very well trained also. So this was the main situation here, that all the necessary conditions which are required to travel in a boat, all these necessary conditions were very, very weak. So now let's discuss basic thing about the disaster management. What are the basic things about disaster management? So see, disaster management can be done under two situations. What two situations? First of all, it will be before disaster, and second will be the after disaster. Right. So if we talk about the before disaster, then for that you must have the preparedness, because if you are very well prepared, then you can reduce the casualties which are happening in the disaster. And if you are talking about the after disaster, then you must need a very good rescue team. So what happened in this case? preparedness was very weak, because as I have already discussed, all these four important things were weak here. But here the after disaster thing was a bit strong. That means rescue operations were strong. But if your preparedness is not very strong, then no matter how strong your rescue operations are, no matter how good everything is, you cannot save a lot of lives. And the same thing happened here, that even though after the disaster happened, various rescue teams, for example, teams from National Disaster Response Force or State Disaster Response Force, local police, everyone came, but they could not save the people, they could not save the lives, they could not save the missing people. So these were the important things here. Now here is a major governance angle also. What are the major governance angle? Because in the article it is given that after the disaster happened, after the lives were missing, the government announced the ex gratia relief. Ex gratia relief means the monetary compensation which is given after the death of a particular person. So article is saying that you do not elect people in the government to provide just the ex gratia relief. The main purpose of the government is to ensure the preparedness for a disaster. So the aim of the government, the main duty of the government is not just to provide the compensation. The duty of the government is to prevent these kind of disasters. And here you will read an ethical angle also, because you might have seen a video of mother who is holding her child and who is trying to protect her child through a life jacket. So that video was very heartbreaking, because the women already knew that they were not going to survive, but then also she was trying to protect her child using the life jacket. So this shows very important qualities of love, sacrifice, empathy, compassion. And these type of qualities are required and for the people who are working in the government. Then only, instead of just focusing on the rescue operations, government agencies can focus on the disaster preparedness also. Okay, so I think these were the main important things under the article. And finally, what is the main message of the article? Main message of the article is that a disaster can be converted into tragedy not because of the natural forces, but because of the governance failure. So disaster can happen, natural disasters can happen, but whether casualties are happening or not, it depends on your government preparedness. Okay, so this was the complete article. Now quickly discuss about this topic on the energy security of India. So basically this article is saying that during the summer months the demand of electricity increases, and that increasing demand of electricity is majorly supported by the coal, and we are not able to use other sources of energy. So let's discuss why all these things are happening. See, if we talk of the season which we call as summer, so if we talk of summer months, so in summer months you will be using various appliances like fans, ACs, coolers. So if you are using a lot of appliances, then these appliances will use a lot of electricity. So this is happening this year also, that since the temperatures are very high, so every household is using ACs and coolers, and hence the demand of electricity is very high. Now, imagine a situation that at same time, millions of households are using ACs or coolers. So if this is the situation, then the demand of electricity will peak. And how this demand of electricity can be addressed? This will be addressed by majorly two sources in India. First is the thermal power plants, and second is the solar power plants. Okay, so the article is saying that whenever there is peak demand of the electricity in India, so it is supported by the two sources. That is, first is thermal power plants, and second is the solar power plants. Now, what is the core issue of the article? What the article is trying to discuss? Article is saying that okay, that we are using two sources. First is thermal power plant, second is solar power plant. So if we talk about the thermal power plant, the important thing here is we are using coal in thermal power plant, but still this is the most reliable source of energy. Why it is most reliable? Because you can use it in the night also, you can use it in the daytime also. But important thing here is that it is the polluting one. And if we talk about the other source that we call as solar, so solar is not reliable because we cannot use it in the night time. But advantage of the solar power, what is the advantage? That it is non-polluting, or it is clean source of energy. Okay. Huh. Now, since under thermal power plant we are using coal, and coal is the most reliable source of energy, so because of this reliability only, in India is using more and more coal. So in India, the electricity more than 60% of electricity generation is from the thermal power plants only. That's why we are not able to use other renewable sources of energy. Now, if we just like we discussed about the thermal, let's discuss about the solar. So solar, as we know, that it is not reliable because solar energy you cannot use in the night time. But its advantage is that it is a renewable source of energy, or it is non-polluting source of energy. Now, the article discusses a very important issue. What is that important issue? It is the issue of solar curtailment. Solar curtailment. Solar curtailment means even if a large amount of solar energy is available, you are discarding that energy because you don't have sufficient resources to store that energy. So you can understand in this way. For example, this is a water tank, and this is a tap, and this is the water which is coming from the tap. Now consider a situation where this water tank is completely full. If it is completely full, then you have to close this tap, right? Otherwise, it will overflow. It will be beyond its capacity. So now consider that these taps are the solar panels. This water is the solar energy, and this tank is the electricity grid. So please understand this situation. So I'm giving this situation that the capacity of grid is full. That means the transmission lines are with the complete capacity. Transmission lines cannot take now more power. So for example, this power in the grid we have given through the thermal power plants. Now, even if you generate more solar power using solar panels, we don't have the enough battery storage infrastructure to store this solar power. So that's why even we have enough capacity to generate more and more power, but we do not have enough capacity to store that power because the capacity of our grid is not much. So if we pump more and more electricity which we generate through solar power, our electricity grid can become imbalanced. So this is the main reason that we have the lack of basic infrastructure which can store the electricity which is produced from the solar power panels. So this term solar curtailment is very, very important. Now, next the article discusses about the issue of El Nino. Why I am discussing this issue of El Nino? Because of the El Nino, there will be very weak monsoon in India, right? Because of the El Nino, there will be very, very weak monsoon in India. And if monsoon is very weak, then temperatures will be very, very high, as you already know. And if temperatures will be very high, again there will be demand of fans, ACs, coolers, and this demand will again be supported by the thermal power plants because we don't have enough battery storage capacity. Okay, so quickly, if we discuss about the phenomena of El Nino, so how we can understand this? For example, this is Australia, this is South America, this is Australia. So if we talk about the normal Walker cell circulation, so what happens in normal Walker cell circulation? This is warm West Pacific pool. So here, from here, air will rise, and here air will descend, and this is your normal Walker cell circulation. But what will happen under the El Nino conditions? Either this Walker cell will weaken or this Walker cell will reverse. So either this thing will be reversed. So these will be the conditions under the El Nino. So what will happen in El Nino? Because of this El Nino situation, the monsoon situation in India will become weak. And if monsoon situation in India becomes weak, then overall temperature will rise. If temperature will rise, then overall demand of energy will increase. So I think these were the basic things which were discussed in the article. So now what are the possible solutions? First important solution is to ensure more battery storage, because we know that there is a lot of potential in India to increase the to electricity generation through solar power. But since we don't have any infrastructure to store, that's why we are not able to tap that potential, and there is a issue of solar curtailment in India. Second important thing is why we are not able to produce more power, because the capacity of our transmission lines is not much. So if we pump more and more electricity in those grid lines or power lines, they will become imbalanced. Next solution is you must have flexible grids. Flexible grids means that they can sustain on the power provided by thermal power plants also, and power provided by the renewable energy also. And finally, the diversification, that we know at present coal is the most reliable source of energy, but you must work on the more and more diversification of energy. For example, wind power, for example, solar power, for example, hydropower, or for example, biomass the energy generated through biomass. Because I think yesterday only we discussed about the green methanol plant, and in green methanol plant we are using one of the invasive species, that is Prosopis juliflora. So these are the possible solutions. Now, next important article is related to Project 17A. Project 17A. So here recently Indian Navy has took the delivery of Mahendragiri. So Mahendragiri is a sixth ship under Project 17A. So let's discuss briefly. Okay. So here Indian Navy has received INS Mahendragiri, and this is the sixth ship of the Nilgiri class frigates under Project 17A. So basically under Project 17A, all the Nilgiri class frigates will be built. So what are these frigates? Frigates means the warships. What is the main purpose of the warships? These warships can attack enemies. These warships can defend Indian coastline from enemies, and these warships can be used in the escort services also. So basically under Project 17A, all these kind of warships will be built. And who built all these ships? These ships were built by Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, and it is one of the India's major defense shipyards. Okay. Now, the main important thing about Project 17A is that it is indigenous warship program. Indigenous means all these things are built in India only. The technology is also of India, and everything is made in India only. So under Project 17A, first important thing, indigenous frigates or indigenous warships will be built. And there will be focus on the multi-mission stealth frigates for the Navy. See, multi-mission means it can work anywhere in air, water, or land. This is the meaning of multi-mission. Frigates, we already discussed. Frigates are the warships. Stealth means that it is very difficult to detect. That means it will never come in the radar of any country. So basically, it is multi-mission. That means it can work everywhere, and it is stealth frigates. That means this type of warship cannot be detected by the radar of any country. So these were some of the important things. Now, quickly, let's discuss about Project 17A. So basically, under Project 17A, seven frigates will be built. So what are those seven frigates? The name of these seven frigates are named after various important hill ranges in India. So what are those frigates? That is INS Nilgiri, INS Himgiri, INS Udaygiri, INS Dunagiri, INS Taragiri, INS Vindhyagiri, and INS Mahendragiri. So this recent article was of INS Mahendragiri. That recently Indian Navy has received INS Mahendragiri, and this is the sixth ship of Nilgiri class frigates. Okay, so I think from exam point of view, all these things were important. And yes, now a practice question for you. So this is a practice question. With reference to liquefied petroleum gas, consider the following statements. First is LPG mainly consists of propane and butane. Next is LPG is stored in liquid form under pressure. Third is LPG has a higher carbon emission intensity than coal per unit of energy produced. So try to give answer of this practice question in the comment section. Okay, so I think that's all from my side for today. And thank you. Have a nice day. Let me see the comments. Okay. Okay, so let me go through the comments first. So first comment is, then why 5 kg LPG price was increased? Because it is not commercially linked. Okay, so see, the price of commercial cylinders as well as the price of 5 kg free trade cylinders, the price of both these things are market linked only. So here the main focus of the government is that at least the domestic households might not get affected. So this was the main motive of the government, because government cannot regulate the price of both these things. And second is, I think LPG price will also increase. Yes, obviously sooner or later LPG prices are going to increase, but the reason for present increase in the prices cannot be regulated by the government, because the present prices are being regulated by the market conditions, by the international market. Okay, so I think these were the important questions. Okay, then I will wrap up now. So that's all from my side.